In the second month of fighting in my brother's stead, my parents arranged for my cousin to marry in my place. When I returned victorious, my cousin was already 5 months pregnant. As I arrived home, she stood at the entrance, hand on her belly, a shy smile on her face. The wedding was near, and my aunt and uncle were acting out of necessity when they betrothed me to my husband. Now, Sebastian and I are deeply in love. I hope you can be magnanimous, sister. If you are willing to be his concubine, Sebastian will surely allow you to grow old with us. I laughed, my own smile just as wide. You jest, cousin. He is just a man. You can have him. If one isn't enough, I have plenty more. What? My cousin seemed stunned by my words, at a loss for how to respond. It was my father who shot up as if he'd been stung. Nonsense. It was only because your brother was ill that we had you take his place in the army. Now that you've returned safely, you must naturally return the title to him. Otherwise, with you masquerading as a man in the military, wouldn't our family be guilty of deceiving the emperor? My mother came forward, her face clouded with worry, and took my hands. Rowan, listen to your father. You've been away for over half a year. I've been so worried I couldn't eat or sleep. I looked her up and down. Her complexion was rosy, and she looked considerably plumper than when I had left. Now that you are back, you should return the general's position to your brother. Perhaps she felt my gaze was too naked, or her own words too harsh. She softened her tone, coaxing me. A woman's place is ultimately in marriage to find security. I've already spoken with your cousin. Although you will enter the household as a concubine, they will not make things difficult for you. Your allowance will be the same as the main wife's. You and Sebastian can still be together for 100 years. I nodded thoughtfully. My gaze slid from my father's livid face and my mother's pleading eyes, finally settling on my cousin's 5-month pregnant belly. 7 months ago, the border defenses were in crisis, and a conscription order was issued. The Pei family, being in charge of public works, was exempt. Sebastian was busy with his father revising water conservation documents, but every other noble family had to provide one male heir. Me parents doted on my brother, and couldn't bear for him to go. They feared the front line meant certain death, and I, having been frail as a child, had studied martial arts and even worked as a guard for a security convoy, disguised as a man. So, they turned their thoughts to me. At the time, my wedding to Sebastian was imminent. I was reluctant to leave. Me parents, in a moment of desperation, promised to postpone the wedding, coaxing me to go to war in my brother's place for the glory of our family. Who knew that in the 2nd month of my absence, fearing exposure, they would marry my cousin to Sebastian in my name, and my supposed childhood sweetheart and loving fiancé had accepted it all. In that moment, I was just a pawn they had sacrificed. My parents had chosen between me and my brother, and Sebastian, in cooperation with them, had chosen my cousin, Isla. Now that I had returned victorious, they still believed I was deeply in love with him. They magnanimously offered to let me share a husband with my cousin, expecting me to be moved to tears, to hand over the military honors I had won with my life, expecting me to disappear into the Pei household as a concubine, to live a life of obscurity to ensure my brother's smooth official career. But I was unwilling. I coldly pulled my hands from my mother's grasp. Are my parents ill? Why are you speaking such nonsense? Didn't my cousin marry Sebastian as his wife 7 months ago? Yesterday, I had an audience with the emperor. I am now the emperor's personally appointed general, a rank of the junior 3rd class, slightly higher than Sebastian's 4th class. Marry me? He is not worthy. You went to receive the reward on your own. You insolent creature. That is your brother's position. How can a woman hold it? My father, in a rage, swept the teacups from the table. The military honors I earned in battle, why can I not receive the reward for them? I raised my hand and blocked the arm he was swinging at my face. If they hadn't been so heartless to me, why would I be so on guard against my own family? I had only received what was rightfully mine, yet they claimed I had stolen it from my wastrel brother. As they were arguing, Sebastian strode in. Before he had even crossed the threshold, Isla had rushed to him. She threw herself into his arms, tears in her eyes before she had even spoken. as if she had suffered a great injustice. My husband, it is not my sister's fault. She didn't say anything. It is I who am too sensitive. I watched her performance in silence, and watched him be played. Sure enough, his gaze immediately locked on to me. He saw I was still in men's clothing, and his thick brows knitted together. He began with an accusation. Rowan, this marriage was agreed upon by both our families. Even if you are displeased, Isla only made this sacrifice because of the foolish mess your family created. You should be grateful, not scold her. Besides, she is carrying my child. If your recklessness frightens her, what then? We are all family now. Apologize to Isla, and we will go home together. I raised an eyebrow, savoring his words. It seemed he was certain I had to go back with them, that I would marry no one else but him. If you are here to take your wife home, you should leave soon. To linger too long in the Jiang household will only invite gossip. As for me, I am sure you don't want to be implicated in the crime of deceiving the emperor, do you, sir? Perhaps Sebastian hadn't expected this outcome before he arrived. His face darkened and he asked, word by word, Rowan, are you trying to break the engagement? In the army, where all sorts of people are mixed together, it is not uncommon for the guilty to accuse the innocent. But to hear such words from a scholar was a new experience. Aunts, he was the most sought, after young man in the capital. Good family, good looks. His father was a high-ranking minister, his own future bright. Even marrying a princess was not out of the question. My father was a minor official, a mere drop in the ocean. It was only through an old family connection that we had secured this marriage. Our childhood friendship and young love had seemed to blossom naturally. Before I left, he had sworn to the heavens that he would wait for me. But, in just half a year, Isla was already 5 months pregnant, and I had been kept in the dark about the wedding. It was only when my fellow soldiers congratulated my sister on her marriage that I found out I was already a bride. While Isla and he were celebrating their wedding night, I was fighting for my life on the front lines. On what grounds was I the one breaking my promise? I had agreed to go to that bloody battlefield to earn some standing for myself in his eyes. But when I received news of their marriage, I knew he was not a good man, and that I had to be my own support. The blood I shed, the scars on my body, were not for someone else's benefit, and certainly not so I could take off my armor and cook for another. Isla whimpered and buried her head in his chest. It is all my fault. If I had refused my aunt and uncle's request, you and my sister would not be in this situation. Please, don't fight anymore. It is all my fault. Let my sister be the wife and I the concubine. I am not like her. As long as I can be by your side, I will do anything. I lifted my outer robe and sat down casually. Very well. Isla's back stiffened. Her whimpers grew louder. He was busy comforting her, murmuring sweet nothings. She was the one who had suggested it. But when I agreed, she was the one who was unhappy. I prompted her. As a concubine, you can't use my name, can you? The Pei family must first divorce her, then send a matchmaker to propose again. All the proper rites must be observed, not a single one missed. If you can do all that, I might consider marrying you. To do all that, the PA family would first have to explain to the world why they had a substitute bride, and why Sebastian had turned a blind eye and gone along with it. The reputations of both families would become fodder for gossip. Isla's crying subsided. The veins on Sebastian's forehead bulged, his voice thick with suppressed rage. Rowan, don't push it. You may be triumphant now, but don't forget, the fact that you are a woman will eventually be revealed. I can report you to the emperor. At that time, you will be charged with deceiving the emperor, and your parents will be implicated. What face will you have then, to be their daughter? My parents also sided with him. If you back down now, there is still time. Even Isla's lips seemed to curve into a victorious smile. I looked at them. The smile that had been on my face finally vanished. As if they had caught me in a trap, mother. Are you truly willing to sacrifice the advantageous position I have created, all for that useless Leo? I may be a woman, but my position as general is a military one. My brother can't even lift a sword. How long can he pretend to be me? When he is sent to defend the border, a single misstep, and he will either die in battle or be captured by the enemy. Are you truly willing to part with him? My parents hesitated, but were quickly swayed by Isla. Aunt, uncle, my cousin has been idle for years because he has no official position to rein him in. If my sister gives the position to him, he will surely become disciplined. My sister, a woman, could achieve so much with martial arts. How could my cousin be any less capable? At this, I sneered inwardly. My parents had such high hopes for their precious son. They believe whatever they hear. No wonder my father had made no progress in his official career for years. But I still had to feign panic. Even if the truth comes out, we are all in the same boat. The crime of deceiving the emperor means the execution of 9 generations. Do you dare to gamble? My gaze swept over them. Just as they were hesitating, a drunken voice came from a distance, untimely inserting itself into our conversation. Don't be afraid, father. If my little sister is willing to give up her position, then all is well. If she is not, we can disown her, write a document, and sever all ties. Then we can expose her. Her crime of deceiving the emperor will have nothing to do with us. The speaker was my good-for-nothing brother, and my parents, hearing his suggestion, seemed to have an epiphany. A short while later, a document of severing familial ties was in their hands. They theatrically bit their fingers and pressed their bloody thumbprints onto it. I found it both bitter and amusing. Before they could speak again, the voice of an imperial eunuch announcing a decree pierced the air. Leo's drunkenness vanished in an instant. He rushed over and grabbed my wrist. Rowan, you know what to say and what not to say, don't you? Do not acknowledge an identity you should not, or you will pay with your life. The eunuch entered, flanked by several guards. His gaze swept over my brother and me, and he said with a smile, "Which of you is General Jiang?" The emperor has decreed that General Jiang is to step forward. My brother and I, being twins, looked very similar in men's clothing, with only slight differences in our features and build. An unsuspecting person could easily be fooled. This was why my parents were so insistent on us switching places, and why they weren't afraid of being discovered. Before I could speak, my brother eagerly stepped forward. "It is I. I received the decree." He knelt with the others. The eunuch unrolled the imperial scroll and began to read. "By the grace of heaven, the emperor proclaims, since ancient times, heroes have emerged from the young. Today's heroes are not limited by gender. We have heard that the second daughter of the Zhang family, Rowan Zhang, is possessed of supreme martial skill, wisdom, and courage. At the northern border, she faced death without fear, achieving great military merit for the state and its people. Considering that she entered the army as a man out of great filial piety for her parents and brother, her past transgression can be forgiven. Now, upon the recommendation of our ministers, we shall reward her for her merits. She is hereby enfeoffed as a general of the junior 3rd rank. She is granted a residence, 3,000 taels of gold, and 10 acres of fertile land. We hope that you will continue to uphold your loyalty, lead our armies, defend our borders, and protect the peace of our people, and not fail our great trust and expectation. This decree is hereby issued for all the world to know. By imperial command, General Jiang, you may receive the decree." My parents and brother exchanged glances, their faces ashen. Not to mention Sebastian and Isla, who were standing to the side. I couldn't help but prompt him. "Go on, sister, receive the decree. It seems the eunuch has even brought you a custom-made official robe." The eunuch covered his mouth and giggled. "The young master has a sharp eye. We have never had a female general before. His Majesty had the imperial tailors work through the night to make this for you to wear to court. A few more elaborate sets will be delivered to your residence in a few days. General Jiang, please have the court ladies help you change. Then you can accompany me to the palace to thank His Majesty." Seeing my brother still frozen on the ground, he frowned. Is the new general going to defy an imperial edict on his first day? He prostrated himself on the floor, his eyes darting to the robes and jewelry on the tray, his back trembling. This commoner is not Rowan Jiang. I am her brother, Liu Jiang. How dare you, to try to pass off a fish eye as a pearl? Guards! My parents and brother trembled, unable to lift their heads under his furious shout. I smiled and stepped forward, taking the decree from the eunuch and slipping a small bag of silver into his hand. I, Rowan Jiang, receive the decree. Eunuch, do not be alarmed. My brother was drunk and wanted to play a game of switching identities with me. Please forgive him. He weighed the silver in his hand and tucked it into his sleeve. His smile returned. So it was just a misunderstanding since it has been cleared up? It is nothing. But such jokes cannot be made in front of His Majesty. Thank you for your guidance, eunuch. Please wait a moment. I will change and then accompany you to the palace. He nodded, satisfied, and retreated outside the gate. The moment the eunuch's figure disappeared, my usually timid brother erupted. Rowan, you bastard! When did you deceive the Emperor into knowing you are a woman? He spoke through gritted teeth as if he wanted to tear me apart. I shrugged. My hands spread, a wide smile on my face. What? You can threaten me with the crime of deceiving the Emperor, but I can't have a plan of my own. Didn't you know I went to the palace yesterday? I thought my brother was so desperate for this position that he would be willing to be castrated and wear women's clothing. I didn't expect him to look down on this humble third-rank position. In that case, I will humbly accept it. I sighed. My mind went back to my secret return 5 days ago. I had returned with military honors and was encamped with 3,000 cavalry outside the city, awaiting a summons. During this time, we were forbidden from entering the city. But my family was so close, and I was so anxious. I wanted to ask them why they had done what they had done. So one night, I snuck into the city after the gates were closed. I slipped into my home, planning to confront them. But I stumbled upon my parents' secret conversation in the study. I thought this daughter would die on the battlefield, but she actually managed to return with military honors. If I had known, I would have sent Leo. Then our family would have been glorious. Now the one being rewarded is a woman. How can our ancestors rest in peace? If this is exposed, it is the crime of deceiving the Emperor. The entire family will be executed. Why don't we have Leo take her place? They are twins and look so alike. It is perfectly feasible. Yes, it is not impossible for Leo to take her military honors. Then our family will finally have a foothold at court. And we can send Rowan to the PI family. Sebastian can keep her in line. Who would know our children are so similar? Then there would be no way to find out. But will she agree? If she doesn't, we can persuade her. Or if necessary, use some medicine. She is our daughter after all. It is not proper for her to be so public. An excellent plan, my wife. Quick, send a message to the PI family. I will discuss this with them at once. The candlelight flickered, and their plotting fell upon my ears. So they had sent me off hoping I would die. And I, like a fool, had thought I was still their daughter, and had come back to demand an explanation. A night passed. I considered myself already dead. They had their plans, and I had mine. I snuck back into the camp before dawn. Besides my tentmate, no one knew I had left. And he happened to be the youngest son of a prince, Gareth sent to the camp for training. We had been through life and death together and considered each other brothers, men who could entrust their lives to one another. So I begged him to use his father's token to get me into the palace to see the Emperor. I took a gamble. If I lost, my family would be buried with me. If I won, I would be free, no longer bound by them. And my parents and brother knew nothing of this. This move was a narrow victory. Rowan, don't forget. You are still a member of this family. How long can a woman last in the official world? Don't cause trouble and expect your parents to clean up after you. Leo stormed out in a rage, but in their hearts, wasn't I already dead? A member of this family? I don't think so. I took out the document of severing ties that I had just taken from them. Me father, seeing the document in my hand, was horrified and instinctively checked his sleeve. When did you take that? I ignored him and just sighed. What a shame. I had hoped to share my good fortune with my brother and parents, but I never thought you would be so heartless as to disown your own daughter. Very well. From this day on, I, Rowan Jiang, will establish my own household. I have nothing more to do with you. Hearing this, my father clutched his heart and fell back. Unfilial daughter. Unfilial daughter? You, if you dare to leave this family, then I, your father, will no longer have you as a daughter. My mother, her eyes filled with tears, supported him and pleaded with me. Rowan, we are your parents. That was just a joke. Why must you take it so seriously? Even if your brother was wrong, we are still family. Can you truly bear to cast us aside? They wept together, a pitiful sight. If I hadn't personally heard them plotting to drug me to force my compliance, I might have been moved by their act. I remembered that when I had left for the army, they had cried just like this, to soften my heart and coax me to go. Once bitten, twice shy. I would not allow myself to remain in this den of vipers, where I could be betrayed by my own family at any moment. You wrote the document of severing ties yourselves. I did not force you. In that case, why can I not leave? I took a step back, coolly avoiding my mother's grasping hand. Rowan, you cannot be so heartless. When I was giving birth to you, it was a difficult labor with twins. I suffered a great deal. And now you say you no longer want us. I have never asked anything of you all these years. Apologize to your father. Don't be so stubborn, please. Her voice was a plea, tears streaming down her face. My lady, when you asked me to go to war in Leo's place, your words were very similar. Not a single word has changed. But we were born from the same womb. The pain you suffered, why do you only ask me to repay it, and not him? In my opinion, the one who caused you so much suffering was him, not me. Oh, but I am no longer a member of this family. I have overstepped. Despair filled my mother's eyes, her voice hoarse. He is your brother. How can you speak of him like that? I suppressed the pain of cutting ties with my family and turned to leave, but there was still someone foolish enough to follow me. When Sebastian chased after me, Isla was waddling behind him, holding her belly. He rushed out of the gate and grabbed my arm, his face dark. Rowan, you knew it would turn out like this, didn't you? Under the watchful eyes of the soldiers and the eunuchs, I smiled coolly. Of course. Coincidence and luck are reserved for the chosen ones. I do not consider myself so lucky, so I must naturally be more calculating. This was all thanks to my foolish parents who had sent me to the army to be tempered. Only then had I learned this lesson. He was about to say more, but I interrupted him as if with a sudden realization. Oh, and Sebastian, after all our years together, I forgot to congratulate you on your marriage. I wish you two beasts a long and happy life together. Until death do you part. Though we are now colleagues at court, it is best if we keep our distance. After all, I am a petty person. I fear that one day I might lose control of my hand, and it wouldn't be good if your wife's child were to lose its father. My threat was delivered with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Sebastian seemed to be so shocked he froze. He was grabbed by the arm by Isla, who had finally caught up, and I had already mounted my horse and ridden away. The soldiers following me looked at them with contempt. It is no wonder our general dumped him. The bastard has such small eyes. He looks like he doesn't have any. That is called being blind. They roared with laughter, not seeing that his face had turned as black as ink. In less than 2 weeks, the story of my family forcing me to switch places with my brother had spread throughout the city. The Pei family was also implicated. Not only were people gathering at my family's gate, pointing and whispering at those who came and went, but my father was also publicly reprimanded at court. His rank, after so many years, was not promoted but demoted, from a minor 6th rank official to a 9th rank clerk, any lower, and he would be exiled from the capital, and his salary was no longer enough to support my brother's extravagant lifestyle. After court, my father followed me, his intentions unclear. Rowan, I am your father after all. The fame of being the first female general is unparalleled, but you cannot be ungrateful, can you? You should be grateful to your mother and me. If we had not made the decision to send you to the army, would you be where you are today? If it had been your brother, he certainly would not treat us this way. He spoke with great indignation. I just kept walking, ignoring him. After all, according to him, if I had died on the battlefield, it would have been my own fault. But since I had returned alive, it was all thanks to them. My own abilities had nothing to do with it. Seeing that I was unmoved, he flew into a rage. Forgetting all decorum, he stamped his foot and yelled, "Rowan, if you disown your own father, are you not afraid of being impeached by the court censors?" I paused. He was overjoyed. "I am only doing this for your own good. What parent does not love their own?" But before he could finish, or even reach me, Gareth stepped forward and pushed him aside. "General, regarding the northern defenses, there are still many uncertainties. The Minister of War has requested that we both go and discuss it." Gareth then turned to my father, who was trying to follow. "Sir, it seems your eldest son has gotten into some trouble at a gambling den. Perhaps you should go and see." Hearing that his precious son was in trouble, my father forgot all about trying to curry favor with me and rushed out of the palace. Once he left today, he would lose his chance to attend court. And as he grew older, it would be even harder for him to climb the ladder again. But my gaze fell on Gareth. "Your Highness, how did you know about my brother?" He was forthright and walked beside me. "Your brother is a scoundrel, though you have cut ties with them. But you cannot be so indecisive. He has been feeding off you for years like a leech. To keep him around is a disaster. I am also your brother. The things you will not deal with, I will deal with for you. The things you do not want to do, I will do for you." Seeing me look at him, he did not shy away, admitting that on the day he had tricked my parents into writing the document of severing ties, he had had someone lead my brother past a few gambling dens. It was my brother who could not resist the temptation. This morning, Gareth had received a report that because he had lost too much money, he had tried to renege on his debts. He had been caught by the casino's thugs. Simone had already taken a bill to my family's home. If the money was not paid, they would cut off one of his hands and one of his feet. After hearing this, I just sneered. Such a waste of space. Even if he had taken my place, he would have found a way to self-destruct soon enough. Don't worry about him, and don't dirty your hands. Even without you, he would have caused a huge mess sooner or later. I knew this for a fact, which is why I hadn't pursued them relentlessly. Fine, since you've said so, I'll call off my men. He saw the confidence in my eyes and laughed, throwing an arm around my shoulder as we walked out. Another voice, however, interrupted us. "Rowan, is it because of him that you were unwilling to marry me?" Gareth was the first to turn, his face grim. "What dog is barking now? The General and I are true brothers. Your words imply something else, as if I have ulterior motives." I turned and saw Sebastian's face. I was not pleased either. "Sir, I believe I have mentioned that though we are colleagues, it is not appropriate for us to be so close. Otherwise, do not blame me if I lose control of my hand and do something wrong." He seemed to be in great pain. He frowned, full of confusion. "How did we come to this? If you dislike Isla, then I will send her away. You can be the mistress of the Pei household. How about that?" I found it amusing. I had always thought that only the lowest of the low would be so shameless. I never thought that the son of a noble, scholarly family would be so thick-skinned. "Sebastian, the engagement was broken long ago. Your wife is at home, pregnant, waiting for you. The next time you say such nonsensical things to me, I will report it to the Emperor and let him be the judge." Gareth gave me a thumbs up and made a face at him. Just as we were leaving the palace, I saw his carriage parked to the side, and Isla, pregnant, was waiting for him under the hot sun. When she saw him following me, she swayed. Fortunately, she had servants with her to support her. Before we could walk past her, she came forward. "Sister." I just pulled Gareth around her. "Ignore her, should I take care of her for you?" "No need. She is a pitiful person. If she can live her own life peacefully, then it is best to just ignore her. Gareth seemed to find my lack of action a pity. After all, in his eyes, they had wronged me. But I was not wrong. In my eyes, she was a pitiful person. She had lost her parents at a young age and had to rely on me. Mother pitied her and treated her like her own daughter. Over time, she and my brother had become more like siblings, and I was more like a foster child. Even so, she could not escape the whispers of being a dependent. So for years, she had been insecure, trying to find her own way to a secure future. After leaving the palace, I went with Gareth to the Ministry of War to discuss the northern border defenses. By the time I returned home, it was already night. The gatekeeper informed me that my mother had been to see me many times, but had to leave since I was not there. I guess they were in debt because of my brother. I had no intention of helping them. So I instructed the gatekeeper that if anyone from my family came again, to just throw them out and not even bother to report it to me. A few days later, I was busy from dawn till dusk. My mother, unable to find me at my residence, came to the palace gates to wait for me. She cried, begging me to give her some money to save her son. She said he was my brother. Even if their parents were wrong, the brother was innocent. I thought for a long moment and told her there was something she wanted at the Yamen gate. She rushed off, thanking me profusely. But there was nothing at the Yamen gate, only a publicly posted document of severing familial ties. The same document that, in my mother's words, my innocent brother had tricked them into writing for his own selfish reasons. They had forgotten all about it, but I could not. I could not forget licking my wounds on the battlefield. When I was injured, I was afraid of exposing my identity, so I had to use snow to stop the bleeding and secretly apply medicine at night when everyone was asleep. The tightly bound cloth on my chest and the numerous scars on my body were all reminders of my family's betrayal. Those days reminded me that they were not worthy of being my family. My mother did not find what she was looking for at the Yamen gate. She went to the Pei residence but was thrown out by the now self-preserving Isla. She had to come back and make a scene at the palace gates. It seemed to be the only way she could think of to save her son from having his hands and feet cut off. But before her case could reach the emperor's ears, she was beaten 20 times by the palace guards for trespassing. When court was dismissed, she was still lying unconscious by the side of the road. In the end, I could not bear it and had her sent back to the Jiang residence. After this, my father sold the family's assets to pay off most of the gambling debt. But he still couldn't save my brother's finger. After losing a finger, my brother became even more strange. He drank all day and would attack anyone who looked at him for more than a second, claiming they were looking down on him. He was in and out of the Yamen several times. His troubles were endless, but my parents never forgot about me. Whenever something happened, they would come looking for me. But I never helped. Aunts, they were crying in the street, accusing me of being a heartless wolf, crying that if not for them sending me to the army, I would not have had my current success. But someone remembered that I was the daughter they had thrown out. People in the crowd started pointing and whispering at them. The accusers had become the laughingstock, and I, for my competent work, received repeated praise from the emperor. In just 1 year, I was promoted from a junior 3rd rank to a full 3rd rank. My salary also doubled. The last time I heard of my brother was 2 years after I returned from another campaign. He had been beaten up by a tavern owner for trying to skip out on his bill, and had suddenly had an epiphany and decided to join the army. Hearing of his ambition, my parents stopped coming to my residence to demand I take them back. They would spit at my gate and declare that when their son returned with military honors, he would surely crush me under his heel. The recruiting officer was Gareth. Normally, a person with a physical disability could not enlist, but he had turned a blind eye. He had him sent to the camp. Not long after, the new recruits were sent for drills outside the city. As a reserve force, they had to be strong. The drills were strict, but reasonable. But my brother could not give up his old habits of indulgence. After 7 days of training, he couldn't take it anymore and snuck out of the camp at night, trying to get back to the city. When he was discovered missing the next day, all they found were his remains, torn to pieces by wild beasts. When my father went to identify him, the shock was too much. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and died on the spot. My mother was left alone in the capital, supporting herself with her needlework. She wanted to find me, but, with me at war, she couldn't. In the end, she was taken in by Isla and became a lowly servant in the PI household. And when I returned this time, it was because a prince had rebelled. I was summoned by the emperor to protect the capital and quell the rebellion. When my investigation led me to Sebastian, Isla was at my gate with her 3-year-old daughter, kneeling. My mother's fingers were old and wrinkled. Her days in the PI household had clearly not been easy. Her tone had changed from her previous imperiousness to one of pleading. I was moved, but then I heard her say, "Rowan, please, I am your mother after all. Take me in. This is your cousin's daughter. Look, doesn't she look just like you did when you were a child?" I looked at the child in her arms. Who was the spitting image of Isla? Even the fear in her eyes was mixed with the same envy and jealousy as her mother's. "You are mistaken, my lady. She looks like Isla. I don't like Isla, and I don't like her, and I especially don't like you." The entire Pei family was imprisoned. Until the moment they were exiled, Isla and my mother had hoped I would save them. But not only was I vengeful, I had also grown cold over the years. They should not have placed their hopes on someone they had betrayed. After this, I was rewarded again, and promoted 2 ranks. Now, everyone at court knew my name. My career was unobstructed, not hindered by the fact that I was a woman. Gareth, after a night of drinking, once asked me if I ever planned to marry. I just smiled and said nothing. He thought I was still hung up on my engagement with Sebastian, but he didn't know that I had tasted the sweetness of power and now understood how men have always viewed women. My father, why had he been so afraid of his daughter having power? Because they are afraid of becoming the ones who are chosen. There are so many men in the world. Why should I be bound to one? Instead of a man, I would choose my career and myself.